Call this meeting, Board of Health to order. We'll begin with the roll call.
Here. 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 President Bradford.
Here. I'd like to make a notation that the agenda be corrected. We will take care of minutes for the Board of Health at the next scheduled meeting. We'll move on to correspondence. Any correspondence from or for the Board of Health? Okay. All right. Petition and hear visitors. Anyone not on our business agenda this evening that has any comments for the Board of Health? Okay. All right. We have no old business. We'll move on to new business. We have an appeal for a public nuisance declaration at 42 Clarence Street. The owner of the property is Candy Bartholomew. And as with previous cases, you will get your chance to present first, but we need to swear you in and then you can begin your presentation.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if I have to ask my husband a question.
He will also have to be sworn.
Okay.
And the issue here is that you will have to clearly let us know that he is speaking for you as the property owner. Okay,
Exactly.
so might he have to speak?
No.
Okay, because
Just me.
I think we should probably end up swearing both of them. I would say. Okay, so we'll swear both of you in, and then it won't be an issue. Okay.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you may begin.
Pretty much, I wrote everything out, so pretty much everything is on appeal. So we're planning on doing this in the spring, start redoing it again in the spring of 2025. 4 years ago, we had this place rented, so we do have some issues like the roof and stuff like that, that one part of the roof, the little part, and that'll be all done in the spring. And then as far as the foundation, that'll get covered up in the spring also. I do have a question though. Why is this property known to be a fire hazard versus something else?
That'll have to be the city can answer that when we get to there. If you want to present everything you have to present, then we'll allow the city to present their side and answer any questions that you pose during your presentation.
I don't mean to interject, man, but Mr. Proper's correct. So this, Mr. Plowman's going to testify, and you can certainly ask him questions based on what he testifies.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna know what.
Sure.
Well, the structure of this house is down, and we want to make sure that our plans are to either rent it or to sell it. We want to leave it on the tax rolls. This one isn't like the other property. This is totally different, and it was being taken care of up until 2 years ago. We've been working on it. As of 2 years ago, we kind of let it go by only because we've had all these other issues with these other properties, which we're working on a tree right now to keep the city basically off the tax. So I can't do anything more for this property until next year because we're leaving in 2 weeks. So there's nothing more I can do until next year. And in the spring is when we're planning on doing 99%.
Okay.
Maintained all the time.
A couple of questions, and then I'm sure there'll be a few others. In your appeal, basically, you're giving us, in the way that I read it, basically a request to continue this and allow you pretty much the entire year of 2025 to.
Spring, maybe till May. May, June at the latest, they're gonna be done.
Okay. Then you mentioned there's nothing specific in here about scope of work. You've made mention of roof and foundation. Um,
And
but, it certainly would be helpful to have a scope of work in here and the scope of work with at least some general guidelines of when it would be done, April, May, June, in that range. Because there's really nothing specific here other than we're gonna do a bunch of work on this property. But it's tough for us to know what it all is.
Just get allowed to speak.
Only, he is
Because
speaking,
he's the one that knows the time frame.
okay,
He's the one that does 90%.
just to put it on the record, you are allowing him to speak for you as the property owner.
He knows more about the day. Before he does that.
Before we go through all of that, we're looking for documentation and specifics. I know Mr. Bartholomew probably will present more specific months that he feels the work would be done, but our standard that we've been, holding property owners that have come to appeals is that they need to come with very specific dates, scope of work as to when it's gonna be done. Only because we can't decide to, extend where we're at here without being able to hold you accountable. So in other words, all it says is I'll be done in summer of 2025. We need, I'll be done with this specific work in February. I'll be done with this specific work in March. And then if that's done, then we're all on the same page, where this doesn't allow us to do that. So I just wanted to explain that.
Okay, yeah, he knows more about that than I don't do that type of work. I don't know the total agreement. I do a lot of the other grid stuff. So that's what I. So he would know the time frame.
He was, they were both on.
Okay,
Okay,
the house itself, 4 years ago, has been completely rewired already. The plumbing in the house is brand new throughout, okay? The only problem with the property seems to be the exterior work on the property, okay? I have to take out a big pine tree. I don't know when that's gonna happen, when I can get the lift. As weather permits, I'll do it. In order to get the new electrical service run, and it's the service, or the boxes and everything are in there. But they can't do it with this huge pine tree in the way, okay? We don't know whose pine tree it is. It's either ours on our property or Madoff that just bought the property next door, okay? I will approach him and find out whose tree it is so that the main electric, the service line can be run in. However, there was service to the, property 4 years ago, okay? Off of the old service that's in there, okay? As far as the plumbing and everything goes, that's all new. Okay, that was all new. Then I had a roof leak. I had to tarp it off. I didn't have time to put a new roof on this year because I've been working on another property on the other side of town. But the way that I see it, you can explain it any way that you want, are the exterior pretties. It has a new porch on it. It has new doors in the front. All the new windows, everything is all thermopane except for the back door that somebody broke into about a year ago and it's been shut ever since. Again, I believe that it's an exterior issue and that's up to the city to present their case. Because they haven't been in to see what is done in there. It's all drywall, it just needs to be painted. Okay? That's all that needs to be done. All right? Now, explain to me why it's a nuisance. As far as the time frame goes, when I get back here, I may be gone a month, I might be gone 3 months. I don't know. When we pull out of here on the 20th, I don't know when I'm coming back. I will be back, okay? I would say as a time frame, first of all, I gotta know what the city is expecting to be on the pretties of the house. It's not a fire hazard, okay? Evidently, it must be a fire hazard because no one's living there. But there are no utilities on there. Nothing, a structure. That's all that's there, okay? Now sit down and I wanna hear what the city has to say as to why. Any questions for me?
I have a couple for you.
Sure.
You'd mentioned that the house had been completely rewired, the electrical and all new plumbing. Was that work done with a permit? Was it inspected?
It was been done years ago, but
If
the electric has obviously been inspected, or the service couldn't have been on. I can't tell you specifically, Tom.
Okay. I just wondered if you did the plumbing and had somebody sign off on it, or if you actually got a permit for the plumbing and they came and inspected it. Generally, when you re-plumb an entire house, it needs to be inspected. The question was for you.
No question for you. Which, respectfully, since when do you have to have a permit to plumb your house? It's all inside. Since when do you have to have a permit to change an outlet or run a couple wires to put in new outlets where the old wires? Okay, I mean, what permit do I have to have for that? That's what I'm asking. You're asking about permits. I'm asking you, where do I get the permit, number one? And number two, in the spring, come in and inspect. I don't have a problem with that.
Two things is you led us to believe that it was all new wiring.
Yes.
Is the way you worded it. And generally, I believe when a structure is completely rewired, it's supposed to be inspected. But a permit obtained and be inspected, to my knowledge, and that would be impossible to do in its entirety if it's been totally re-drywalled inside.
If you open up a wall to replace wiring, it's a matter of patchwork that goes over it, okay? The drywall in the place was good. I run new outlets, I just open up a channel and I run everything from the bottom.
So you patched the drywall, it wasn't all new drywall.
Yeah, okay, a certain amount of it's true.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand how
Yeah,
deep you got
that's okay, but I just still want to know about this permit thing. You stated about a permit. I've never heard of it. I mean, I've been at this stuff over 25 years. I have never, ever been asked for a permit on a plumbing job. Never. Now, if it was from the service, yes. I just did one. I didn't have to have a permit for that. The water was off. I replumbed the whole damn house. If somebody wants to crawl underneath the house that I just did in that crawl space and check my work, have at it. Okay? But I'm not trying to be cocky about it. I'm just trying to know, what do I need? You tell me I need a plumbing permit to...
I was asking if you got a permit.
No, Tom, because I don't know whether I need it.
I think we're getting into some construction and building issues here
We
that,
can address that with
Yeah.
when the city
Yes.
has their turn.
That's all I wanted to know. If it requires me a permit, tell me it requires me a permit. I'll play right along with the city.
Okay, we'll do that.
And I'm trying to be respectful to everyone.
No, I'm just asking is if someone came in, I'm not an electrician, but someone came in and totally rewired my entire house, I would want to make sure, that it was done correctly, so I would see if I need a
Of
permit.
course you would if you're paying the big buck to have a licensed electrician to come in. But the normal homeowner that is doing these rehabs are not licensed electricians or plumbers. They're a jack of all trades, okay? and they're doing it all. I just never heard of such a thing, Tom. And I'm trying to be honest, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't want to prolong this particular issue with the inspections and with, but relating somewhat to this, you mentioned that your intent for this property eventually is to sell or to rent.
It has to be inspected.
How long has it been since you have rented that property?
I think it's about 4 years.
About 4 years.
Correct.
But at that point, I gotta tell you, I did not have a permit for renting because I didn't know about it. And it was family, so I didn't know.
We rented it to family.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah, that's, so this structure has not been occupied for 4 years. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have. Turn it over to anybody else that has any questions.
All right, Chris.
I have questions, but I'll wait till the city.
Okay,
So I can,
all right. Okay, so any additional comments before we turn it over to the city?
Yeah, my wife just made up. I think you're also asking for a time frame concerning the outside, as far as what I read, okay, into the complaint. You're asking for when the foundation can be covered around, okay? You know, to be buttoned up on the outside. I'll try to get that done in the next week or two before I leave. It just have to, the material's in the house. All I have to do is cut it and put it up and that's it. All the frames and everything are in. I'll try my best to do that. As far as replacing the roof on the back portion of the building, will be done probably by the end of May, as long as we have some decent weather. Those are the only two things that I saw in this thing that were objectionable, except that the house don't look pretty. Okay, that's all there is to it. And guaranteed, it needs to be sided. I cannot tell you when that's gonna happen. Right? Is that your only question?
It's my only question until we get a status report on from the city.
Okay.
I have no additional questions.
I may have other questions too.
Well, certainly after the city has their
right.
their time,
That's why I wanted
they
to
can then
hear-
open it up for conversation.
Mhm.
So before we start with the city, I guess I just have one clarification. So Mrs. Bartholomew, you mentioned that all repairs would be done by the end of June of 2025.
Yeah.
Mr. Bartholomew, you just mentioned you're not sure when the outside renovations are going to occur. So
They're good.
which one is it?
Okay, they'll all be started probably by the end of the June as far as putting a siding up.
Okay.
I've done other houses and I actually don't put the vinyl up. I usually do them large in a cabin type of thing.
Okay.
And, as you can tell on some of my other stuff that's going on. But sometimes the order for the larch, because I only use larch and it has to be dried and planed and everything. I can't tell you when I'm gonna get that, but I can put my order in. The front, I tell you this, by the end of June, all the other things that my wife was talking about, the front of the house will look pretty. I will tell you that. The front is gonna look amazing. Okay, because I just had, basically in the front, all I have to do is put up larch and siding. The porch is done, I gotta put some railing up, that's it. Done,
Okay.
all right? So is that clarification enough?
For now.
Sort of.
For now?
For now.
So, sorry, folks, I'm going to interject just for a second on behalf of the court reporter. She can't take down when two people are talking, and someone's over talking someone else, so it has to be one person at a time, please.
Yes, sir.
So then I guess then the last point of that, or the clarification is, I understand all that you just said. So what would be your best guess as to what you would be comfortable estimating that it'll all be done?
I would say, I gotta say by the end of summer, by
Okay,
the end of summer.
so you're saying like.
And I will keep you updated on it. I'll come, if you want to pull me in or come in, take photos, do whatever you want to do. Okay, but like I said, if it's curb appeal, okay? I live on the inside of places, not the outside of places. And every damn time I were to do an outside of a place, my taxes go right up. And we are all penalized for taxation. However, that's part of the reason why I leave those things to be the last things that I do.
Okay,
All right?
so then, if I understand correctly then, so your best guess at this point is that by the end of September 2025, you'll be completely done with the house?
I would say, yeah,
Okay,
I would say. And I'll keep you in, and if you want progress reports, I'll give you progress reports. Tell me when you want them in. I'll give you a progress report.
okay,
I'll do it any way you want to do it. I
okay,
just don't want, that structure is not like 40. Okay, 40, that needed to come down. This one, there's really nothing.
thank you.
Okay. We're all set, we can move on to the city. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city intends on calling one witness, Brandon Plum. Raise your right hand for the stenographer.
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
So we may have a window open and I can hear a train outside, so when you're answering questions, if you just speak loudly for the stenographer. If you could state your name for the record.
Brandon Plowman?
And are you currently employed?
Yes.
In what capacity?
I'm currently the health director for the city of Bradford.
And how long have you been in that capacity?
Approximately 4 months.
Okay. And prior to being health director, were you employed?
Yes, I was employed by the city of Bradford as a property maintenance officer.
For how long?
2 years.
Okay. And prior to that employment, were you employed?
Yes, I worked with a local contractor for approximately 12 years.
Okay. You've been in the business 14 years or plus, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in the course of your employment as health director, are you certified?
Yes.
Okay. And receiving those certifications, do those certifications require an annual renewal or training?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. President, I would offer Mr. Plowman as an expert in these speaking.
Accepted.
And in the course of your employment, are you aware of 42 Clarence Street?
Yes.
And do you know who owns this property?
Keeney Bartholomew?
And this property was condemned on March 19th of 2021, correct?
Correct.
And the property was subsequently deemed a public nuisance on September 24th, 2024, correct?
Correct.
And I'm showing you what have been previously admitted as exhibits A1 through A43. You recognize those exhibits?
Yes.
Mr. President, I'm showing you what's been previously admitted as exhibits A1 through A43.
Okay, thank you.
And I would request that the board take judicial notice of those exhibits.
So, done?
And Mr. Plowman, those exhibits are photographed, correct?
Yes.
And they were taken on September 11th of this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And those photographs are of 42 Clarence Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Contained in those photographs, along with your observations of the property, I'm going to discuss with you exterior walls. What did you observe, if anything, regarding the exterior walls of this structure?
The exterior walls are not properly surfaced. There's holes, breaks, gaps, loose rotting materials.
And that would be in violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And specifically, do you have any more other observations regarding the siding and the exterior walls?
The exterior walls, there's missing windows, leaving exposures to the interior of the structure. Sections of the siding are missing or have insulation on the walls that may require to be replaced at this point.
You mentioned windows. Does it appear that every window is kept in good and sound condition?
Not every window.
Are there some windows up here that have no glass or any glass, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that would be in violation of International Property Maintenance Code, correct?
Correct.
Turning now to any of the foundation walls, what have you observed, if anything, regarding foundation walls?
The foundation, this house is setting on pillars. A lot of the pillars have shifted. I would assume because there's not the proper footings underneath them. Majority of the pillars and portions of the underneath of the structure have shifted and since been shimmed and appear to be insecure.
And regarding, there are pictures of the exterior front deck. What did you observe about the exterior front deck?
The front deck, does not have the proper material for the flooring. Also, there is no steps or handrail leading to the front deck.
And also, there are pictures regarding the roof and the eaves. What did you observe regarding the roof or eaves, if anything?
There's several sections of the main structure that have the deterioration, especially toward the drip edge of the roof, and the rear section of the roof is moss covered and worn.
And you had occasion to review the order of September 24th, correct?
Correct.
And that order references vectors. Did you observe anything regarding these photographs regarding vectors or animals surrounding vectors?
I did observe at least one hole that I recall of where it appears that something has been most likely living under the house.
And is the structure currently secured?
I am not sure. I would assume so.
Have you been in the interior?
I have not.
So the specific code violations we're discussing this evening is concerning the exterior, correct?
Correct.
And from September 24th, the date of the order, have any improvements or remedies been done to the property?
There has not been.
Okay. And it's because of these conditions you just testified to that you believe this property continues to be a public nuisance, correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions, Mr. President.
Okay. Couple of things. I could have taken a page of notes and some of the issues that I'm seeing here, but just to highlight a couple. I do want to reiterate, Brandon, you have not been on the interior of this house.
I have not.
Have you been able to access any views through any of the windows of the interior, even if they were limited?
I recall I could see vaguely through the back door, and it looked like maybe that there was some sort of bathroom back there, but
Okay.
other than that, no, I have not made any attempt to
Okay.
check anything.
There are two meter boxes shown on the outside of the house. One contains a meter, one does not contain a meter. So I'm assuming you got some good pictures there, but I'm assuming the one that doesn't contain a meter is the one that the weatherhead has broken off the house. The one that does contain a meter, is there an active electric service? Maybe not turned on, but is there an electric service into that meter?
No.
Okay, there's not, all right. And another quick observation, you have some pictures underneath the house of some plumbing. It appears to be gas lines,
Correct.
okay? Did you observe any additional, and they appear to be old gas lines. Did you observe any new plumbing under the house?
None to my recollection, all to be specific on.
All right. That's all the questions I have at this time. I have a couple others, but it relates to both sides of this case. So allow other members of the Board of Health to,
Yeah, there was a statement made, or a couple of statements in reference to the exterior versus the interior, as if there were, different levels when it comes to ordinances. Am I correct in stating that if the exterior does not meet the code, then it's in as much violation as if the interior was not in code?
Yes.
So it's still in violation regardless whether it's exterior or interior?
Yes,
Okay.
it's still a violation.
In your opinion, is the property a fire hazard, and if so, why?
It could potentially be a fire hazard due to the fact that it is obvious that the structure has been vacant for quite some time. Not only do this time of year do squatters try to seek some shelter, but young kids in the neighborhood may be around. It definitely poses more of a risk in for a fire hazard than, in my opinion, and according to our FCC, than a occupied structure that may be lighted at night or surveilled.
And it appears in your one photo there, 820, which shows a picture of the roof from underneath looking up. It appears to me that it looks like there's been a new roof line put on the structure. Did you notice that or observe that?
There is a transition in the sheeting. As far as the roof replacement, I'm not sure what happened there, whether just sections of the sheeting were replaced. But I don't believe that there's any drip edge on that portion of the sheeting.
Okay.
any additional questions for the city at this time?
Mr. Hannah, did you want the exhibits entered in evidence and given to the court reporter, be part of the record if we have a transcription, or how do you want to handle that, or you just want them returned to you?
Well, I did ask they be,
Yeah.
or take judicial notice of
Okay.
this, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
They
give
can be
them
returned to the city.
court reporter.
Yeah, they're already part of the initial record, but. Okay,
Okay, yep. And you have a series of photos. The first batch looks like A1 through A8. Then you continue with A9 through A17.
yeah, and there's still some.
And then whatever Terry has.
There are a total of A1 through A43.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for your assistance. And we'll give them to the court reporter and they'll become part of the record.
Yeah, that's 21 people will be created.
Okay, any additional questions specifically for the city before we open it up for just some general conversation here? Okay, I think we'll begin. The Bartholomews had asked a couple of specific questions, and if you could address those, and then we'll go for any additional questions.
May I look at the photos? Is it okay if I look at the photos that you took?
Sure, Mr. President, no problem.
Yeah.
Socials.
Yeah, building, fire. Shooting fire, scene.
Okay, I'm pretty low.
Okay.
So if they have questions, I can certainly pose them to the city's witness.
Okay,
The one was already answered, the fire hazard, right, so.
and I believe the second one was some specifics on the exterior.
Yeah, and I'm well aware of the exterior. I hate it myself, okay? But like I said, it's the last thing to get done.
I guess the obvious thing is, now that you've looked at the pictures,
Yeah, I have some
Do-
questions.
oh, okay, but do you agree with the evaluation that the siding on the structure does not meet?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. You know, there's no question. I don't know how anybody could dance around that. I mean, that's just it.
All right,
My question is, there was, before I got this, which goes back probably 15, 18 years ago, there was an addition put onto the, okay? We didn't do that, okay? I don't know who, well, I have an idea who did it, but I'm not positive. Yes, there is a transition between the old structure and the new structure, okay? Personally, I haven't been up on the roof to take a look at the main structure roof, okay? If the drip edge needs to be done, everything needs to be done, it'll be done. That's all I can tell you, okay? My question is, did you crawl underneath that house?
No.
No, you stood outside, you didn't get on your belly, you didn't crawl in underneath the house. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? That's all I'm asking.
I guess, what is your question to me?
Did you get underneath the house to inspect all the pillars? It's gonna help me out. Did you get underneath the structure, or did you stand on the exterior and shoot your pictures in?
Correct, I stood on the outside and what I was able to view.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. You said that they've been shimmed, okay? I don't think you can find a house in Bradford that hasn't been shimmed at one time or another. They shim them on new blocks. You know that if you've been in contracting, you've known that yourself. You can't get them perfect. Always a wooden shim in there, and they're shimmed after. The leaning of the pillars, I can address, okay? I didn't put those pillars in. I have no idea what's in that ground, nor am I gonna look. But I am gonna make it safe enough that they're straight. Now, you did me a favor by taking all those pictures, okay? But my question was, how far in did you go? Or are they just the perimeter blocks that you're talking about?
I did not physically go underneath the house.
Okay, all right. That answers my question. Gas line. That's a brand new gas line. Whether that one rusted all the hell, I don't know. I put those lines in myself. Okay? There's new gas line that went in there. You can see the transition between the new and what was the old. Okay? There was a wall furnace in there heating that at one time on the exterior side. I put it in toward the interior to put in the proper heating. Okay? But that gas line is new. It was pressure tested. It'll be pressure tested again before. And I pressure test a lot different than they do. I gotta hold 60 pounds for 24 hours. The requirement is 20 pounds for 15 minutes. Okay, so all I'm saying is, I'm just trying to address some of the problems. You will not get a dispute from me over the exterior of that house. One question for the code. Do the eaves have to be covered, or can we have open eaves? As long as there's ventilation to the roof. What is the code on it?
I'm not familiar with that specifically. I know that that would fall under our UCC.
What
our
is that?
Construction code.
On old structures or a new structure? You gotta remember, it's an old structure.
It would depend on the scope of the work. Whether you planned on putting a new roof on the structure, you would need a permit for that.
I know that I know.
That should be spelled out through our uniform construction code. And that would be a question that you would want to ask when that permit would be issued by the person that handles.
But actually, I'm asking you now, is that do those eaves have to be boxed in? That's my question, because I have another piece of property that the inspector made me take all my soffit down because you couldn't hide an entrance cable on electricity to the box. It couldn't be hidden by, I don't know whose code it is, but it happened to be the electric company. Okay? I had to tear it all down. I'm gonna leave it down. Those eaves are good. That's all I wanted to do is, they have to be covered?
Hold on a second here. I think we're getting to a point here where I do have one very quick question, and then I want to make a comment here. You mentioned heat and that gas line. Is there viable heat in the building currently?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
I pulled it all out.
Okay.
It wasn't adequate for what I had, and I pulled it out.
Okay.
But the gas line is there.
Okay. So I've been jotting down some notes here as we've been going through. Okay. And these are all notes that you have commented on that you know has to be repaired with this property. And initially I said a scope of work. So as we went through this, you've given us a verbal scope of work, which is kind of all over the place. Heat, roof, foundation, windows, porch, the back porch, the roof, the eaves, the exterior, i.e. siding, porches, let me see. That's what I've got jotted down here.
Oh,
So-
you're right.
Okay.
You're absolutely
Okay, so, but this is not something that we can really act on or react upon, because the first thing, it's not specific. A roof is a roof, we realize that, but there's not a specific requirement, okay, I need to re-roof the entire house. Then, and of course, the eaves. So, in sitting here trying to extend this, and frankly, I said at the very beginning, it looks like you're asking us to extend you for a year.
No, just till the end of summer.
But you answered Mr. Pecora's question that you would be done by the end of September.
It's the end of summer.
That's 10 months.
Yeah.
That's only 2 months short of 1 year.
That's true. It wasn't a year. I was just saying at the end of summer.
Okay, but I'm saying we're out without, and we've also been concerned on the financial resources to get these types of projects done. It's basically, if if the interior of the house is what you're telling us, there's a substantial amount of money that's going to be involved to get the outside just to the bare minimum meeting the codes.
Well, you're right there, you're right, but I have my ways of doing that financially, okay? I'm just telling you, the financial end of it, I'm not gonna tell you it's not a problem. But I've worked around this stuff for a lot of years. I remortgage, I put things up, no different than anybody else that does this. No different than anyone else that does this.
Additional
So,
questions?
So, Mr.
okay, well, I'm okay with whatever you guys come, if it's deemed a nuisance, okay, if it's deemed a nuisance, does that make it automatically going to be tore down? Is that what that means? Or can I continue to work on it even if it is a nuisance? How does that work?
Of course, you could continue to work on it, but it does start the process to move forward with demolition,
Okay,
depending on the priorities that the city
the city
and the
has.
Board of Health sets as we move forward with whatever we're
Oh,
going to
okay,
do
all
with
right, well,
demolition.
that's what I needed to know, is if I seal off the foundation where you can't see it, which is one of the things that's on there, okay?
But ultimately, with these violations, and the violations that are truly listed in this order,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yep.
One does not take priority over another. So if 5 violations are fixed and 5 violations remain until all of the violations, and I didn't count the number in here. So that's just an example. All of the violations truly have to be accomplished in order for us to rescind our order on that property.
Okay, that's understandable. I understand that.
And
But if I do have part of those things in the process of doing that and doing the foundation and putting everything in, and half of them are getting done in my summer time frame, does that mean you could come back in and tear it down even though that I'm working on it?
yes,
Yes.
technically we could.
Yeah,
But-
well, technically you could, yes, but I mean, would it happen?
I think if you showed us that you were making measurable progress and committed to rehabilitating the house, maybe starting with the roof and the outside foundation, that would be taken into consideration
Oh,
at that time. But we have, I don't know whether you're aware of this, we have meetings for the Board of Health almost every Tuesday night. We have a lot of properties, not just your properties, a lot
I
of people going
understand.
through this. Go through this. But if like you were here, I don't know, 3-4 months ago about the Walker Avenue property.
yes, yes.
And you had said that you were going to be selling a property and using that money to rehabilitate that property at Walker Avenue, is what you said at the time. You mentioned a property that you were going to be selling, not the last meeting about Walker Avenue, the one prior. You mentioned about you were going to be selling some property or some, and that you were going to be having money that would give you the money. That's why you needed a few months. And I think I was the one who proposed giving you a few months so
Yeah,
you
you
could sell that property and put the money in the, but that didn't happen.
I had the money to do it, Tom, okay? But, I mean, we're getting off track here because we're going back to 40. But just a simple statement, I had the money to do it, okay? When I got the letters and everything, and I told you what turned my mind around, okay? I just said to hell with it. Get it out of the way. It all had to do with that letter that was sent to me. That's all that it did, okay? But that house, you know, and I know, wasn't worth rehabbing. You could sit right there and say it wasn't worth rehabbing. It wasn't worth rehabbing when I got it from Connie Brink. It wasn't at that time. I just took it off in order to try to keep anybody from going into the gym. However, once it's tore down, then I guess my obligation is fulfilled. Nobody's gonna move in next to gym. That's all. That's all it was. The money part of it, I've got the money to do it. You think I'm broke?
Now, my
Not in a long way.
point, Mr. Bartholomew, was that Is that if you say you're gonna do this and you actually, your actions speak louder than words.
Yes.
So if this is still, it's, at present, it's declared a public nuisance, and it's still declared a public nuisance. If your actions were to show that you were committed to actually rehabilitating the structure, I don't think the Board of Health would make it a priority to try to demolish something that you were actually taking measurable action. That's what I'm trying to say to you. But the words from you and all these other people, they don't make, it's the action that
It's
actually,
the action that
words don't mean it.
getting 12 corner ends off of that thing and having that rented. That's been on the condemned list. That'll be ready to go on the 12. Okay, I'm done. 4 corner end, I leave it that way because I got a beef with my neighbor and I can afford to pay the taxes and do a little at a time until he stays off my back. That's all that's going on. The other place, the painting on Bank Street, it's just paint. Okay, my wife has a question.
Yeah, my question was, I don't think that statement or question, that finances should be brought up with, yeah, but I don't have to give you my financing.
We're not asking that. All they're noting is it's quite, there's a serious amount of financial commitment here to do all the things you want to do. New roof, siding, foundation, it's a lot of money. And,
How we do it, doesn't matter, but we,
Well, I hope you can understand the skepticism in that you've owned the property for how long?
Since 17 or 18 years.
So we're at 17 or 18 years. The city identified it condemned in 21, is that correct?
yeah.
Okay, so, so
I never.
with all due respect, you've been in the business a long time.
Yes, I am.
I know for my property, I know if I need to put a new roof on.
Yeah.
I know if I need new siding.
Yes.
I know if I need new windows.
Yeah.
You certainly, as an expert in the field, know when you need it.
Yeah.
But here we are, we'll just go from 21 when it was condemned. Nothing has been done to that building. Let me just finish. I'm just stating,
And I understand.
you and I may never come into an agreement only because we have a responsibility to the rest of the property owners in the city that are willing to maintain their properties at city code. So when you state that I'm not gonna paint this property, I don't care what the outside looks like, your neighbor that might wanna put a few $1,000s in upgrading their home, that discourages that property owner.
I
We have a
agree.
responsibility to those people as well.
I do.
So that's, sometimes we may have a conflict here of interest in that you're trying to deal with your tax issues, and that's your statement. You said, if you paint it and you do the outside, it influences the tax. So that can't be our concern. And when,
It
not
should be
just,
your concern.
not just yourself, but when other property owners come in here and they've owned a property for 10 years and have done absolutely nothing until code enforcement gets involved, and then we get sort of a vague list of, we're gonna do this with no specifics. I would think, again, if you, being a professional in the field, you would have people that are gonna do this or very specific. I'm gonna do this date, this date, and this date, and that's the only way that we can move forward.
Well, that's understandable. Your point's well taken. But you're right. You're right. I do this stuff myself. I don't hire very many contractors because they don't do it the way that I want it done. It's very simple. That's what I have found out. Okay, because I've hired contractors before and they haven't been fly-by-nights and I didn't like their work at all. Now I could get a hold of the Amish and have them come in there and polish that turd in about 2 days, if that's what you want. But that's not what I want. What I want is the work to be done right, for the building to keep standing, and sell the damn place. That, I don't even want to rent it, I want to sell.
But could we come to an agreement that it can't be indefinite?
Yeah, I
It can't be
agree.
an indefinite.
I agree, but nailing somebody down to specific dates when winter is coming, okay, at this point, okay, just at this point, You're right about the years prior to that. But at this point, okay, election day 24, okay? You're asking me what can be done over winter time. I'm not gonna be doing much over winter. I said I would try to cover up the foundation, and there are no varmints in that house.
I'm really asking why we're here as opposed to why a year ago you knew the issues needed to be addressed.
Yes,
We
yes,
come to an agreement there.
yes,
So
you're right.
that's my only point. And
To
so
tell you the truth, I overextended myself and I had too many properties. You want the truth? I'll give you the truth. It's hard to admit, but I acquired more properties than what I could handle on my retirement at that point, which has worked its way out, okay? And I'm getting them done. And I'm gonna sell as many as I can and rent a couple that I wanna keep, and I'm out. And that's what I want, and that's my plan, okay? But you're right, you're absolutely right, it sat too many years. And the reason why, well, you don't even need to know the reason.
No.
Because there's no excuse for it, okay? No excuse. But I told you what it was, okay? I'm only asking for consideration. If you wanna deem it a nuisance, I don't have a problem with it. Do it.
Okay.
Okay, but if I'm doing certain things, I just don't want my work being tore down. That's all I'm asking.
Okay,
We explain where we're at in that. The purpose of this appeal hearing is to convince us why we were wrong to declare the property a public nuisance. But by your own words, I don't think you disagreed with us at all.
I don't.
Or to convince us that since it was declared a public nuisance, you made significant improvements, that it is no longer a public nuisance, and that is not the case here. So I would make a motion at this time that we uphold the previous order declaring 42 Clarence Street a public nuisance until such time in the future that the property is rehabilitated.
Never.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I know that's what you said, but we never got a sign. Which really makes no difference at this point. But what I'm saying is, we never got a condemned.
I've made a motion.
is there a second? Any additional comments from the Board of Health? We'll do a roll call.
yeah,
Yes.
Member Riddle.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, having no other business on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Health meeting.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting is.
Yeah, see, you said
If you listen for,